This video is sponsored by my OnlyFans, where I do my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition, relationship advice, and more.
Excited to get this conversation going in regards towards really what lies in the future for Games Workshop and
Oh, yeah.
all this talk about women space marines and so much more because it's an interesting double-edged sword in regards to it, but obviously you did a video about it, I believe, a month and a
Yeah.
half ago, and maybe I think it's important for all of us to get a refresher of your original thoughts before I guess I input my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. Well, last year as well, I think I did a video about that because it was once again in the news. you know, it was uh, it was relevant once again. And this was actually the first time that I talked about this. That there was something about Major Kill, and he did a topic about that, and he explained that really physically is not really logical. So I
Mhm.
think that was mostly the focus and the points of view from which he looked at this. And then, I talked about basically my position, which is if it makes sense, if it's not shoved in, maybe it's gonna be okay. But if it is shoved in, it doesn't make sense. Why do it? If you do something for the sake of doing it without justifying it, justifying the existence of that thing, then it's just like where it's forced. And when it's forced, why would we need it? It doesn't actually have value when it's forced. So that was my original position. And then we had these things with, what happened with the Templin Institute. And that was a bit of a even more ridiculous. That was really ridiculous. I agree with Major Kill, what he said back then. But he was coming from some kind of a strange place of social justice or something, which
Mhm.
there's no such thing in 40k, okay? 40k is still pure. Doesn't need that stuff. So yeah,
So
that was ridiculous.
here's my thoughts on, I guess, once again, this whole idea that Warhammer 40K needs to have this injection of modern day politics into a clearly a dystopian universe. I mean, at one point humanity was at the golden age of technology, or dark age of technology, where we were like, I guess, dare I say it, maybe a federation like empire, but those days are gone. What once made humanity stand out, we no longer have access to, and humanity is now in a far grim, dark situation. And so, when I saw the video by the Templeton Institute, it felt as many ways as, well, this is what should be interjected. I think it's long overdue. At least that's what the narrator was trying to explain. To which I have to say, who exactly is your intended audience? Because if you're giving a middle finger to the fans, let's say Game Workshop does this and say, hey, you're going to do this. Who are you selling the miniatures to? Because again, Games Workshop, they make 3D, they make, plastic miniatures that people like to create their own factions, which again, if someone wants to create their own female space marines, they could do that on their own. But who's going to buy said product? Who are these characters? Who are these stories? And how are you going to break canon? Now, Luton, 40K theories, Major Kill, everybody. Apologies if I'm missing anyone. Wolf Lord Row,
Yeah.
etc. Have all done many videos on how Warhammer 40K isn't has a straight timeline. Like when you look at a story, you're seeing it from a perspective of a said character. And so that's why there's many different points of view of how the emperor is perceived, either honorable and a good person, or a horrible, tyrannic, fascist dictator. When it comes down to female space marines, I mean, Malkador, suggested that the Primarchs, like some of them, should be women, to which the Emperor dismissed. And then Fabius Bile from the book, and this is an excerpt from um, Primogenitor, where the final paragraph, and so we will, this is a quote from him, we are safe aboard the Versailles, Bile said, rubbing a spot of blood from Igor's cheek with his thumb. More than once I have questioned the emperor's wisdom in bestowing his gifts upon one half of the human race. For in man, as in all beasts, The female is the deadlier of the species. You are a thing of furious beauty, my dear. Never let anyone tell you different. So there has been talk by characters of, well, why isn't there a woman space marine or a female space marine? But also in Primogenitor, I don't want to say it was a female space marine, but there was a woman in his warband. I guess through genetic manipulation, could have been a quasi Astartes like human, but she was genetically mutated. I wouldn't say she had the makings of an Astartes because the Emperor bestowed that gift for his, I guess, human males to have these genetic implants, these organs put into them, so that they could be his eventual super soldiers. Which, at least according to how the Emperor was designing it, or and also with the help of other genetic scientists on Terra, this is our mindset. This is our template of what we're going to use for our super soldiers, and it was only for one half of the human species. At least that's my initial thoughts on it. So it's like who you selling it to, and then the lore also backs it up too.
Yeah, I think that comment basically, part of the lore was put there to calm some minds down, you know?
Hmm.
But in actuality, at least when I put those last two videos, somebody made such a comment, like a book, a book-sized comment
Oh
about
no, one of
how,
those.
yeah, it was about how before there were some female space marines, but then some other stuff happened, and that was because I said that there was a particular person that worked in GW, and he explained how things went down in the late 80s and in the 90s, that they were trying to make female space marines models, but no one was buying them. So everything ended rather quickly. That was it pretty much. And then they had to think about something to make in the lore, you know, to have at
Hmm.
least a fraction of some kind of information.
Well, in many ways, there has been a lot of articles done, I guess, by more established media outlets to present 40K as being unfriendly or not being positive to, I guess, women. I know a while back there was a video. I wouldn't say it was done by BuzzFeed, but there was something where the reporter was interviewing women who do play Warhammer 40K, and they weren't really going for the whole bait and switch of, well, wait, this is we like this fantasy realm, we like how things are. Just because there aren't women space marines doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge other stronger women that are in Warhammer 40K. And what I feel is being done as an argument by those that want to change Warhammer 40K or make it fit into modern times or put in modern political thought into the environment is you're disrespecting the Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Silence,
Absolutely.
and all the other women characters in Warhammer 40K, be they a soldier in the Imperial Guard, to even women who have served as High Lords of Terra, or wait, is there? I think there is a woman who's a High Lord of Terra, or in the early stages when the Emperor conquered Terra, there's been women in positions of power, be they governors, generals, admirals. Creed's
Inquisitors.
daughter. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, inquisitors. Just adding.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's just, well, how come only men can be space marines? To which I have to say, would you really want a woman to go through the horrific transformation to become an Astartes? Because they're human, but they're not. They are us, but they're something different. And while they are men, male space marines cannot ever have a family. They will never be fathers. They will never have the ability of loving a human because they're incompatible. The emperor made them that way, and I think that was done on purpose due to possibly his Thunder Warriors. But that's a theory I have somewhere down the road about why he also got rid of the Thunder Warriors, and I don't think there's any lore that could back. It's just more of a fan brew theory of mine in regards towards how the Astartes are they are, and it has the possible connection of Thunder Warriors and just their actions on Terra.
Well, I always thought that, well, first, as a woman, which is kind of annoying to say, but yeah, as someone that's not a man, I never even thought about this before. I actually heard it from, everyone else that are concerned with this. And as you
Mhm.
said, women that are playing the tabletop, they're not even thinking about that as well. And I'm playing the video games because I cannot afford to play the tabletop. Otherwise, I would be interested.
As can I.
Yeah, tabletop is a hobby that has a life on its own. So yeah, another topic entirely. But I am in 40K in all other kinds of ways. So I never even thought about that we should have female space marines because they are awesome. I mean, the space marines that we do have. In the same way, when I watched an action movie with Arnold or with Sylvester
Mhm.
Stallone or with Van Damme, because my dad watched a lot of these movies, and
Mhm.
I never thought for a second, wow, if only these guys were women, you know? It is important for all of us to have cool characters and cool male characters as well as female characters, and it's cool for guys and it's cool for girls, and we
Mhm.
still can relate to those people in the same way that guys can. I don't understand why what is stopping me to relate to Arnold, let's say, in Commando. you know he is
Y-
a cool guy. He wants to save his daughter. He goes, he
mhm.
kills people, he saves his daughter. I mean, what is there not to understand? I just don't get it. And in the same way, not female, male space marines are just that. And I thought that the emperor made them this way, so they can't, uh, have children because that is the way that they're just focused on the gold, the imperium, the serving of it all, and they will never be concerned with families and having wives and all of that because they just have to be killing machines at the end of the day. That's kind of the
Y-
idea. So yeah.
y- you bring up an interesting point about the Astartes only having the one goal of defending humanity and being at war. So here's the thing I like to expand on just a little bit more of what you addressed. I mean, that's what they are. They're warriors. They're only designed to be fighters for humanity and nothing else. With the Thunder Warriors, and this is just my theory about why the Emperor made them the way they are, because again, there's a whole idea of, do Space Marines have genitals? Are they like human males still? We don't know. I mean, there's been some lore to be hinted at it. Warhammer 40K community, add in your thoughts. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a lot of different points of view. But with the Thunder Warriors, they were so brutal. Oh no, that's perfectly fine. But with Thunder Warriors, you know, it's for me, I always felt like the Emperor got rid of them not only because with their gene seed unstable, but it's been talked about how brutal the unification wars were, and perhaps the Thunder Warriors, and I don't want to say anything to get the video flagged, but perhaps they were very hostile towards many encampments that had women. Maybe these Thunder Warriors were capable of interbreeding with the humans.
Oh boy, I hope not.
Yeah, yeah, which again, if said victim was able to survive, I mean, is that going to be a human or is that going to be a mutant? Because the Emperor couldn't control them, and even the Custodes. I forget which book it was, and again, somebody please comment which book it is, because there's so many books in
So
Black
many.
Library,
Yeah.
where they were disgusted with the brutality and the just how bloodthirsty the Thunder Warriors were. So that's where I'm coming from in regards to the Astartes. They did not have that flaw that you would see in Thunder Warriors, unless Thunder Warriors were just like that. But then again, there's another issue to bring up, and that is the Primarchs themselves, because it's one thing to bring up, well, how come there aren't female Space Marines? But look at the Primarchs, look at the Custodians, look at the Space Marines, and the Thunder Warriors. The Emperor designed them for certain ways. Were they truly capable of enjoying the aspect of life that is humans? And humans
Sorry.
we're an
Sorry.
animal species. Oh, that's all good.
I
We're
have
we're,
an
we're an
animal species here beneath my legs, and it wants me to play with the ball. and I'm
Mhm.
listening to you, and I'm pushing the ball and doing what I can. So yeah, continue, continue.
Oh no, that's fine. So I mean, the thing is, with humans, we are a species, and the whole thing is survival, living with somebody, being compatible, and the emperor designed his warriors, at least his elite warriors, not to have that. So if you do have a female space marine, okay, that's great. But as I mentioned before, who are you selling to? Is your intended audience going to be a permanent audience? And then number three, in regards to the lore, are they going to be any different than the male space marines? Because if the male space marines are truly asexual, it then it really truly doesn't matter. And in other words, you're destroying another half of the human species, in which the transformation process to become an Astartes is completely brutal, and a lot of them won't even survive. Is wasting
Yeah.
the gene seed on them even worth it? And Fabius Bile, he can make his comments, but that guy's not right in the head anyways.
Yeah, well, you bring up a very good point because they are so altered that are they even a man when they can perform some man functions? Because you can
No,
say, oh, they're not real men then. So by that logic, you
uh,
can come up with all kinds of stuff uh, out of your butt, so to speak, and to say, oh no, 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 uh, they're not even like qualifying as a man because they don't have all the functions. So why would we have women space marines? There will not even be women. Like literally, they will not be women. So what's the point?
yeah. So one other thing I would like to add in regards to that is, you know, there's this article that I found. It's from October 25th. It's from Polygon. Okay, so everyone, hold on. But the title of it is "Welcome to Warhammer 40K's Anti-Fascist Future," into which the article it doesn't talk about women's space marines, but it talks about how the game, the lore has attracted people who are alt right and pro fascist and horrible trolls, completely bad people. To which I have to say, I've spoken to many people who are part of the Warhammer 40K community, all of them from different backgrounds,